Hello everyone, welcome to the Totally Well Show. I'm your host, Joyce Strong. The Totally Well Show is a place where we get curious, ask questions, and explore everything to do with health, wellness, fitness, personal development, helping people, and all the things it takes to help you live the highest quality, most fulfilling, strong, joyous life. My guest today is a repeat, Shawna Pelton. Hi, Shawna.
Hi, Joyce.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here today.
We have new things to talk about.
Sure
Shawna can be reached, so you know right up front, in case you get distracted, write this down, shawnapelton.com. Shawna is a strategic transformational guide.
Yes, ma'am.
Guide like Yoda.
Yes.
And best-selling author of Voices of the 21st Century. So you want to get your hands on that. And we're going to talk today about something that is a little different and a new service that you're doing, and human biofield.
Yeah, the human biofield, healing through understanding how to heal by healing the biofield.
So maybe start with defining that. What is the human biofield?
So the human biofield is about a framework that it contains the aura, and everyone's familiar with the term aura, but what's funny is people don't see it with their eyes, and so they forget about it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we don't realize that that the way that these like subtle bodies that we have, energetic bodies, our mental, emotional, and even our physical body is influenced by the content, the information in the form of light, in the form of frequencies, vibrations from things all around us, as well as our own internal frequencies of our thoughts, the quality of our thoughts and belief systems, and that all of those things influence our body, our health, our life.
So it still seems, is it a form of energy healing? It seems a little hard for me to wrap my head around. So.
Yeah, so life force energy is what flows through us. People, plants, animals, it is a function of aliveness. So people understand that energy is how we are alive. I mean, yes, we have our physical components, but without the energy, those physical components wouldn't function. And so, kind of like a battery, we have a positive and a negative pole, and with that, we're kind of circulating all throughout our field. It's if I were to kind of measure it, it usually can be measured about 5 feet-ish around us.
Okay.
And a lot of people are familiar with the term chakra. Have you ever heard that term before?
Yeah.
So chakra is just an ancient Sanskrit word that just means wheel.
Okay.
That's all it means. It's a wheel that energy flows through. So it's like a channel that energy circulates through. But what happens is that each chakra is located in a specific place in the body. And here's how I love for people to kind of imagine, if you would. It's like, how do you see this? How do you envision this working, right, in the body? We know that we have energy in our house. And there are outlets in each room. If you want to plug a light in, you need to have your outlet working. But if your outlet's not working, then you're not going to have light in that room. So usually, if like the rest of the house has energy, then you have a circuit problem, right? So you go downstairs and you fix the circuit. You go to the circuit breaker and you change the fuse. And if the whole house is out, then it's not a circuit problem, it's a connection problem to the source, right? So in the same way, we sometimes have in our different houses, if you would, our different parts of our being, as I mentioned, the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual part of our being, but also like our body parts, the organs and glands that we have are connected to these circuits. And if we go through traumas and dramas in our life, what that does is it takes energy away, it blows a fuse. And so it causes an interruption in our field. And so a depleted energy field means depleted health, depleted vitality, but it also affects other areas of life. Does that make sense?
It's great analogy. Yeah, that's so helpful.
Good.
You know, as you're going through it, I'm picturing the house that is us, and so I read a little bit about it on your website to understand it better. And can you tell me and our viewers a little bit about the technique that you use when you're working with somebody? And then afterward, I want to hear about like some of the conditions that people come in for. But I'm curious about what does the technique look like?
So I can imagine that there are many different ways to heal the biofield. So I'm not going to dismiss other people's methods, but I will just highlight what I use. And
so there's more than one way to do it then? Okay.
I would imagine. I haven't been introduced to many, but I can imagine that other people, 7 billion people in the world, I can imagine that there's someone doing something differently. But I'll share what I'm familiar with.
Okay.
And it is actually, so there's one thing we have to understand about the information that's in this field. It kind of reminds me of how we get scars. Whenever we have an injury, we might, on our physical body, we might have a scar to indicate that time that you fell off your bike and you scraped your arm or knee or something, and you're always reminded because you see it, or when you get older you're reminded because maybe you have arthritis in that area, you know what I mean, where the injury led to long-term damage, so to speak. And so in the same way, we actually have these scars, I call them. That's how I look at them in our field. And so these places that they're located is similar to like rings on a tree, where you can look at, if you were to like slice open a tree and look at its life, you would see how old it is, but based on how many rings. You would see if it lived through a drought. You would see if it lived through a disease or if it lived through a flood, right? Just based on the information and where that information is on its ring. And so what happens within your field is you have the same type of information. There's qualities of the scar in the field. And with tuning forks, believe it or not, just tuning forks, you're able to actually identify. I wish I brought it out. I didn't even think to bring in a tuning fork to show you what it would look like. But I'm able.
Most people, I think, are familiar with it. Do you use multiple tuning forks?
Yes, I do.
I didn't realize that.
I have like a whole kit of tuning forks based on what I'm looking for, what I'm trying to do, how big this scar is. It's kind of like almost, it reminds me more of a knot. You know how when you have, well, for anyone who has long hair or maybe has brushed a little girl's hair, they know how difficult it is to comb through some snarls. And that's kind of what happens when I use the tuning forks. I can hear a perfect pitch. I can hear the frequencies and the tones of this field of information, and it's beautiful, it's harmonious, because when we are functioning well, we not only experience life as well, but it's a tone. Right? And it's a subtle thing, and so we often ignore it because we don't necessarily see its implications so obviously. But with the tuning forks, I can hear wherever I hit a snarl in the field.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
It is. It's making me think a little bit about music, like the way music vibrates, and you can tell when it's off. Yeah, and it also reminds me, I often think about it as music too, and how we're instruments, and our body is an instrument, and when we're not in tune, things just don't seem right.
If you've ever been to, say, a concert, and in the beginning, before the orchestra would play, you hear them tuning up, and so as a result, you hear where they're having to adjust to fine tune. And for those who are listening, who are musicians, they'll know that you have to tune your instrument every time you play. You can't just assume, oh, I did this once and it's going to be fine. And so in the same way, our body is an instrument, and we have to tune it. And so if there is a block in your field, or a scar, or a knot, snarl, whatever we want to call it, and imagine it being, we can take that tuning fork and actually refine the field by combing out that block. But it's also associated with something in the body, and it's based on those chakras. It's based on where in the field it shows up, and when, what age it shows up at. It's really fascinating to be able to determine that.
So did you need to know all about chakras and auras and all that to be able to now do this new service, new to me anyway?
Yeah. I think that it's important to it. It's certainly helpful, but I've been studying that world for 20 years, so I guess I'm not a good judge of that. Maybe someone who's never studied chakras and energy, who has just decided they feel called to doing this work, maybe they might, because they don't have any preconceived notions, they might be able to access something that, I don't see, because I have all of this, experience in terms of like how I see things. So
it makes sense. Their point of entry is just different. Yeah. Wow, this is fascinating.
Isn't
So if I come in to see you, it's at a location. This isn't done over the phone. This is
Some
done.
people do it.
Oh, really?
Non-locally. Yeah, a lot of people do it non-locally.
Oh, wow.
Right now I'm focused on local.
Yeah.
But I do know people who do this non-locally.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I know people that do energy healing in general that way. So, which is harder for me to understand. Although I do appreciate the sound quality, that gets passed on. And also if you're using something visual, if you're using like a Zoom call or WhatsApp or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So.
But anyway, in your office, in that space, are people lying down and sitting in a chair? What's it look like?
They can be either. And so if I am working to kind of first assess, so I personally have people lying on a bed, but I also have like these really cool lounge chairs, like kind of campy chairs, but really comfy. So either or, you will have people lying down, and I will open up their channels. Most people are familiar with acupuncture, and the way that energy flows through us is it's not random. I mean, there's channels that the energy flows through, just like there are streets that we go down. You have to go up one way and down another. Sometimes it's a both-way, two-way street. Sometimes there's side streets and off-roads that are maybe rocky and dirty, right? But so I actually use acupuncture meridian points. I start on the body to open up the channels so that there's ease of flow, and then I assess the field, and I'm listening for the body's feedback loop. I'm like asking the body questions. What do you want me to focus on first? Because you can imagine that we all have lots of issues. I have yet to meet anyone who's like perfect. So assuming that everyone has gone through life challenges at different stages of their life, I'm not going to automatically go to the place. Like, for example, if like someone came in because maybe they had chronic headaches, let's just say that, I'm not going to go to the most obvious place of the head. Because what if that chronic headache started 20 or 30 years ago in the field, and it blocked energy in your knee because, I don't know, maybe you held yourself back from moving forward. And then maybe it went to your throat because you never fully expressed yourself. And now all of a sudden the energy channel is blocked, and therefore your head's feeling it. Like, let's just imagine that being a possibility. So if I focus on the head, I'm not really getting to the root cause. So I have to go through that kind of curious exploration process and find out where your body wants me to go first. And so we start with that.
It's so I'm thinking about as a nurse and some of the nutrition stuff I do and
Yeah.
how similar it is because
Oh, okay.
just talking about headache, for example, could be a metabolic issue, a digestive issue, and the body's way of telling you need to stop, you need to go in a dark place and lay down and stop moving,
Yes.
so that you get what you need.
Yes.
So it's interesting how the root cause is so important. Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Right.
Yeah. So do you hands-on when you do this? When you're talking about touching meridian points, are you actually physically touching the person?
At first I do if I have permission. So far everyone's given me permission.
Yep.
But I don't have to.
Okay.
That's not required.
Okay.
You know.
I was just trying to picture what the setting was like, because a lot of times people are reluctant to come in and try a new modality if they just
Right. If they're
don't
not
know what.
comfortable
Yeah,
with
they don't know
touch
what's
or-
involved. So if it's just
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So if they're lying down fully clothed,
Yeah.
I can feel the field around them, and
Yeah. So it's non-invasive and
Right.
it's light touch.
yes. And oftentimes, like if I hit a spot, and I look at, where am I? If I'm in, like, say it is the stomach area, like the other day in the stomach area, working on someone's field, and I hit a point that was really hard to get through. It was like easy, easy, easy. Nope, this is not easy. And this person was 12 years old. And I was at the stomach, and I was on a certain side of them that, I started to ask the right questions. And she said, oh my gosh, at 12 years old, I was hiding that I had an eating disorder. And so she was hiding that eating disorder, and has worked through it as an adult, has worked through it, but it's interesting it's in the field.
It's interesting that you said this person, at first I thought you were working on a child, but you were working on the 12-year-old version of that person. Did they tell you that ahead of time?
No. No.
So how does it come up?
Once I hit that point in the field, I'm in that, looking with the tuning forks.
Yeah.
I'm combing, and I hit a spot, and I can feel it, I can hear it, I can sense it's off.
Yeah.
And based off of, as I mentioned, it's like, if I'm looking at the field as roughly 5 feet, I can tell, where am I in the age of this person. So it's like the rings on the tree theory.
So do you guess it or do you ask?
I usually say ish. I'll be like, it's around this age-ish.
You
because
have
what
that
if I'm
much
wrong?
confidence.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
That's crazy. Now, having seen you at Confident Women when you spoke and you had Alan, remember that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how everyone was so blown away with how, and his surprise that how do you know this?
Right. Yeah, the body keeps score. We have to remember our body is very wise, and oftentimes it's holding on to this information, waiting for us to be conscious enough, to be aware enough, to be able to handle it. Sometimes it's like
protective.
Exactly. Like if you're 12 years old and you're healing, or you're dealing with a crisis, it could be from a really serious thing like violation.
Right.
Or it could be your parents go through a divorce and you don't know how to emotionally handle that, and you don't understand what that means for you, and maybe there's a lot of fear around that. I think that there's a lot of wisdom that we discount in life, the wisdom of our higher self, our soul, if we can call it that. People might have different, ways of looking at life, but that's how I look at it. We all have an innermost self that is wiser. Yeah. And so your wiser self's not going to try and push you to figure this out at 12 years old.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, let that settle.
Yeah.
And when the time is right, we'll know. And that's when we're going to bring it up again. So when people have issues that are chronic issues that repeat in their life, where it's like, why do I keep having this problem? That's when it's important to look back into the field. Where are you holding on to these scars from your past traumas and dramas? And work through that and snarl. And bring it back into harmony, to tune your body so that things flow right.
Yeah.
Because harmony is how we relate with everything, first and foremost, ourself, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't have harmony with ourselves, we're not going to be able to have the most incredible relationships with others. And if we don't have harmony with others, we're really not going to feel like maybe we fully belong here, or we fully feel like we fit in, or are happy with how, our life is unfolding if we don't, have those harmonious connections and relationships in life.
I'm thinking of how I was talking to you about a client I'd seen recently, and how he was out of sorts. And I'm thinking, I'm going to ask him to change that word to out of tune.
Ooh.
And just in general, I'm having a bad day. Why not just say, I'm out of tune? And then you have a place to go with it, right? Like, oh, it's just that. I just need to get back in harmony.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Right?
I love it, yeah.
Or like yesterday, it's funny because I didn't sleep very well, and I woke up with what I call my cranky pants on. And then I was in conversation with a friend in the morning. I was like, I'm catching myself being judgy because that's my weakness when I'm not in my stability, when I'm not in tune.
Yeah.
And this is the other thing, this is about the awareness. So if I'm being judgy, then that's not about the person or the situation that I'm judging. It's always about me being out of tune.
Yeah.
And I literally said, I need to go do my rituals, my routines for tuning myself, for reconnecting, and get out of these cranky pants.
Yeah, yeah. And I love too how you're bringing it to center.
Yes.
This centering gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can. It's okay. We're not perfect people, and cranky pants happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it's a flag, and also the idea of connecting with that inner child, or younger self, and actually having gratitude. A lot of times I'll help people to go back and have a conversation with that younger person, little Joyce, and thank her for taking care of you, and reassuring her, and that coming together, because, as you said, I'm ready. Now I'm ready to have this conversation.
That's
I'm safe
beautiful,
enough.
right? Yeah, I often do that with people as well. And there's so much potential for healing in those moments.
Yeah.
And again, they're subtle. And I think sometimes people don't give those subtle moments enough credit. Our change and transformation is about this, the experience through the journey. It's not about I need to get somewhere. It's a becoming process. And those subtle little moments are gentle little shifts that refine. I often think of kneading dough, right? You're refining and kneading and making this dough pliable and ready to put it into any container that you want to put it in, to bake it to become something that you want it to be.
Yeah, I love that idea of slowing down and really getting into the appreciating the power of the small insights. We have about 6 minutes left.
Okay.
So I wanted to spend some time talking about some people, just in general conditions of people you've helped who've come in to do this and what has changed for them.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. One that just popped into my head was it wasn't a direct association, that meaning it wasn't an obvious association, but afterwards we saw that connection so clearly, and this person came in for just tuning, just okay, I want to tune my life and my body, but was having, I think when people have the three main issues: survival, which is physical survival, and physical safety includes money and living conditions and jobs, security, all that.
Okay.
It also includes relationships. That's the second most important part. And then self. It's self-esteem, self-worth, right? So this person came in with initial survival issues, and in clearing the field, they literally, the next day, got a call from their banking, wherever they had their investments, and they said, you know what, we made some mistakes, and we caught a mistake, and we found $58,000 of yours.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, what? What a random thing.
Yeah.
You know, and but not random because we moved a block.
Yeah.
And would that eventually have come out? Yeah, someday. But it was like she did the work and was ready for that in that moment. You know, so she cleared the blocks, the pathways opened, and the abundance flowed. In that moment. Another thing that I cleared in working on love. It was like the blocks around love.
Yeah.
And this person, the night after, the very night, not after, the very night after working on the block around relationships and love, being worthy of love, he got a phone call from his mother saying, you know what, I'm so sorry for everything that I did to make you feel unloved, like unsolicited call. But what was interesting was what came up during that field work was how he remembered being a little boy and his mother would punish him by not talking to him, by withholding her affection from him to say, I'm mad at you for doing something wrong, you know? And he would be like, Mom, please just talk to me, as a little child. And so he worked through that and he healed that in that session. And she called him like, I had a revelation today.
Yeah.
Right? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, it opened him up. And now he's married. It opened him up to having a healthy, engaging, harmonious relationship with love.
It sounds like it opened her up, too.
Yes. That's amazing, isn't it? That's the other thing. It has a benefit for the person if we're attached to someone so intimately like that. And sometimes here's the funny thing. Sometimes people are withholding that. Like, I don't want to make them, I'm angry at that person for hurting me, right? We get revenge is on our mind, or we want to hurt the person who hurt us. Yeah. And that's actually not a healthy, harmonious attitude either. Yeah. And so the ultimate benefit is for the one doing the work on themselves. A secondary benefit is for someone else who's in pain, who might have caused hurt because they too were hurt.
Yeah, wow. Well, you've really helped me to understand energy healing in general, just using some different words and vocabulary and some more concrete examples. It sounds amazing. It sounds like a wonderful modality to try, at least to come out and try. How long does a session last?
You mean while I'm working on someone?
Yeah.
It depends on what we're working on. It's roughly an hour.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go a little bit over if we have conversations that are important that come up for people.
And do people do repeat sessions?
So if if somebody has something very specific that they're working through, I'll usually suggest that they commit to a series with me.
Okay.
But if someone's just doing tune-ups, they just come in once a month. Where it's like, okay, I'm ready for my tune-up, and we move stuff along, and it's the little breadcrumbs, like we're constantly moving towards wholeness that way.
It sounds like a great thing to do if you were doing something big, like making a career change or weight loss, and you're really starting into this big thing, to just kind of set the stage. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure.
What a great idea.
Nice. Thank you so much.
You're
for
welcome.
This opportunity.
Yeah, well, we're about out of time, so I will see you soon. I will see you in all the places that we usually hang out, on Facebook, and hopefully Confident Women Consortium again. Yes,
absolutely.
I'm so grateful to have you in my life.
Oh, same sentiment, sister. Thank you very much.